Hello my fellow book addicts, Megan here, and time for another book review. Today, I'm going to be talking about the second book in the Theft of Swords bind-up by Micheal J. Sullivan. Now, I believe it's pronounced, I'm going to have to say this really slow or else I will stumble over it. Avempartha. Avempartha. There we go. The amount of takes it took me just to say that name was kind of depressing. Alright, so there's been a bit of a time skip since the first book. You know, a couple of years, not too big a difference. And basically we pick up, Royce and Hadrian have been hunting down that guy, from the first book, DeWitt. Or at least, that's the name he was going by. Because, you know, they got a score to settle with him. You know, since he had a decent role in setting them up to be framed for killing the king. So, you know, that's not something they're gonna just let go. And on this little errand, they actually come, you know, up with a new job. Basically, this girl named Thrace is from this really tiny little village, like, off in the middle of nowhere. And she has been looking for Royce and Hadrian to hire them to help her father with something. And I'm sorry I'm being extremely vague in my synopsis, but because this is the second in a series, I'm trying not to give away too much for obvious reasons. So, yeah, you know, they end up taking the job. And of course, craziness ensues. And that's really the vaguest I can go in my synopsis without giving spoilers. So I will say I thought this was an awesome second installment of this awesome series. I am growing to love these characters more and more the more I read. And I like how we are slowly learning more and more about their backstories. Like, I haven't read the prequels yet, because frankly, I didn't know about the prequels until I was quite a ways in, and at that point I'm just like, I'm gonna finish this series and then read the prequels, just because I don't want to stop in the middle of this, go read those, and then come back. So far, I'm getting along without reading the prequels. Like, I'm sure there would be some nice extra backstory, and I would have a bigger appreciation for the characters if I read the prequels first. So far, it doesn't seem like you need to read them. Which, you know, I totally appreciate. And, like I'm pretty sure I mentioned in my last little review talk discussion video, I love the relationship between Royce and Hadrian. Just the banner and the exchanges between them and just the interactions between them. It works so well and I love it. And just, I absolutely adore it, and I very much look forward to reading more, and I very much look forward to learning more about these two characters. All in all, like I said, an awesome second book to an awesome series, and just highly recommend. Absolutely highly recommend. I do have to say, this series is definitely jumped up onto my, like, top list of favorite series. So with that said, I'm going to go into a slightly more spoilery bit, so if you have not read this far in the series yet, I highly suggest you click away now and come back after you catch up. So like I said, Royce and Hadrian I absolutely adore. I actually found it really, really sweet how it was Royce who wanted to take up the job that Thrace was offering them instead of Hadrian, because, you know, the pay is not going to be that good for this job. It's very minimum. And, you know, Royce isn't known for being a big softie. Just based on what we know so far, that seems more like a Hadrian thing to do than a Royce thing. So, it was surprising to see him take on this job. And apparently this job that Thrace has is she wants Hadrian and Royce to break into this really hard to get into tower, which is the title of the book, and Avempartha. I can't say it. Yeah, there's a sword that's supposed to be able to slay this beast that's been plaguing her village, and, you know, that she needs 2 expert thieves to get in there. You know, this homeless guy who's, you know, been in her village the past few days has recommended this awesome duo of thieves, Rhaenyra. So yeah, it turns out the job is not going to be as easy as, you know, it's made out to be. The tower they have to break into is of elven make, and it's in the middle of this super crazy, intensely strong river. So it's not like you can just swim across it. There's no bridge. So they gotta figure out how to get to the tower, first of all, and then open it. And, you know, it's very quickly revealed that Esarhaddon is the homeless man from the village that told Thrace about Royce and Hadrian. And, you know, he needs to get into the tower, too. So, you know, things in this village are not good. They've been plagued by this giant monster whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce. This magical creature has been, you know, attacking the village. You know, mostly everyone has lost someone to this thing. Esarhaddon, you know, slowly reveals, like, yeah, these things were used as weapons in the war against elves and humans years upon years upon years upon years ago. And supposedly they were all destroyed when the war, you know, ended. But it looks like, you know, one wasn't accounted for. And this creature could not be killed by any other weapon except for a sword, which was forged with its name written on it. And, you know, that sword is likely in the tower. So, you know, throughout this book, Royce and Hadrian are trying to get in there so they can get the sword and try and save the village. We also see more of Arista in this book, which was a pleasant surprise. You know, some parts were kind of frustrating me in the last book, but, you know, I didn't hate her. She was a cool character, and, you know, I appreciated her spunkiness. Her brother, the king, has, you know, given her the task of being, like, an ambassador of the kingdom, and, you know, trying to make alliances with all the other kingdoms, having some mixed results with this. And through all of this, she's going to be joining, like, the church in this huge competition that's going on. They don't know much about it until they get to the location, which happens to be the tiny, tiny village where Royce and Hadrian are. Apparently the church, you know, they've been searching for this heir who is supposed to, you know, rule everything. The Imperialists are... We're going back into the political parties now. The Imperialists, who wants to, you know, unite everyone under one supreme ruler, an emperor, have been looking for the heir of Northern for, you know, almost 1,000 years, so that, you know, they can reinstate him as emperor and all this good stuff. So they're kind of giving up on it, and they're trying to make an emperor. They're trying to make an heir. So they know about the monster that's plaguing this village, and they're trying to spin things as only the heir can kill this horrible monster. So they picked one ruler who they're going to be basically setting up to kill this thing. You know, they got a fake sword with the name on it and everything, and they think it's going to kill it. And then they're going to use him as a figurehead. And, you know, amongst themselves, they decided, you know, once he gets an heir, if he starts to, you know, let this power go to his head, we can kill him. So yeah, they call this huge competition to try and kill this thing. And they're bringing in, you know, possible contestants from all over. They're going to let a few of these guys go first to show that this thing is unkillable. And then they're going to send their little puppet heir out to set things up so that, you know, they can say, yep, this guy's the heir. He's going to be the emperor. End of story. And just want to throw out there, I don't know about anyone else, but I found it becoming more and more obvious what Royce was as this book was going on. Between his really awesome eyesight that's constantly mentioned throughout this book, his awesome sense of direction, his awesome balance, his silent moving, his senses. At the beginning of the book, he, you know, when they're stalking DeWitt, you know, he sneaks up behind him, puts a knife to his throat, and it's like, yeah, Rhaenyra, it's Elvish for two. Which, frankly, I giggled when I read that line, just because, I don't know, it's Royce. And apparently Royce is becoming a bias in my reading for this series. So between that, and I think it's shown that he can read a little more Elvish once he actually gets into this tower. It just, all that added up, and I'm just like, he's elf. He's an elf, or at least part elf. You know, as I was getting further into the story, I was texting my friend who recommended this awesome series to me. And it's like, I remember texting her, being like, Royce is elf, or at least part elf, isn't he? You know, not too much further in, I I get to the point where he actually confirms, yes, he is part elf. He just passes remarkably well for human. He doesn't have the pointed ears, the facial features, which, I'm really curious about something. In the first book, Royce is revealed to be an orphan. So that makes me wonder, did his parents die when he was a child? Or was he a baby when it happened? Because if he didn't know his parents, how would he know he was part elf? Or did someone tell him? Just doesn't seem like something someone instinctively knows. And another thing that kind of gave it away is how pissed off and moody he got when anyone, said anything bad about elves. Hadrian, pretty much put it together on his own what Royce was, and Royce is so shocked. Like, how did you know? You don't do that good a job of hiding it, Royce. And just throughout this whole book, I just want to give Thrace a huge hug. Like, her father was an asshole to her most of this book, and I wanted to punch him in the face. Like, oh my god. And then, once he starts getting better, he gets killed by the stupid monster. And then, poor Thrace is left with no one. And I also thought it was really cool how she killed this horrible monster. And, she had a witness. So, based off of the, little declaration that the church made, that technically means they have to make her the Empress. And they quickly start to put it towards their advantage. She's a farm girl, so this could win, the common people to our side. And just think, what kind of message that sends to people? This common farm girl, who is a nobody, is gonna be ruling us. She'll understand us. She can connect to us. So I realized that could work to their advantage, big time. And they figure she'll be easier to mold to their, desires, because she is not in a good state of mind right now. She is just practically catatonic. So they can really use her as a figurehead. So, they quickly, are happy to change this plan of theirs to make Thrace the Empress. Meanwhile, Esarhaddon, can't forget about him. Apparently he is actually trying to find the true heir of Norman. And he kind of needed Arista, who is there, and Royce's help. And, he finds out who the heir is. And, they don't really say who it is. He isn't just looking for the heir, he's also looking for the bodyguard of the heir. Who, I think it's pretty obvious that Hadrian is the bodyguard, just based on, a little thing here or there that they mentioned. And just, Esarhaddon mentions that he gave the heir and his bodyguard way back when, 1,000 years ago, these amulets that would shield them from being, spied upon by anyone else, but it would also lead him to them when the time is right. It's mentioned a few times that Hadrian is wearing this, I think it was a silver, medallion or something. So, I believe that pretty much hints that Hadrian is at least one of these two. Based on him being able to fight, likely the bodyguard. So I'm curious to see where that leads us. And, it's going to be pretty intense seeing where things lead from here on out. Now that, the church has this heir that they are looking for, how is this going to affect this whole, continent? I'm really looking forward to starting the next bind-up, which is titled Rise of Empire. And just, yay, I can't wait to see more of Hadrian and Royce, and just crazy stuff that goes on in their lives. So yeah, that's it for this book review, and I hope to see you guys next time. Keep on reading, my fellow book addicts, keep on reading.